Well, good evening and welcome to Candidates Night from the Scarborough Town Hall. This is the Candidates Night that we now hold in the month of May for the June 10th Election Day, where we will vote in three members of the Board of Education, and we will also have the vote to validate the school budget. So a couple of years ago, the Scarborough Town Council moved the elections that were normally always held in November, and now they're held in June for the Board of Education. And when I first met Jillian and John Kelleher, we did it on Zoom in 21, and it was in the fall, so you had a little extra in your term, but welcome back, and they're seeking re-election to the Board of Education. And joining them for the third seat, which was held by Jenny Leong, who is not seeking re-election, Charlotte Jacobs is a Board of Education candidate as well. So we have three candidates running for three-year terms to the Board of Education. And those candidates again are Charlotte Jacobs, John Kelleher III. I'll leave out the Joseph and Patrick. Oh, the fourth is with us. That's great. And Jillian Trapini Huff, also seeking re-election from her term in 2021. I'm Kevin Freeman. I'm a volunteer with the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce and also a member of the SEDCO board. I am assisted tonight by the president of the Scarborough Community Chamber, Leroy Crockett, and from the Scarborough Public Library, Chip Schrader. So thank you very much, and thank you to the crew at Scarborough Community Television for changing over the room in record time and getting us ready for tonight's Candidates Night. We'll go in, the first hour will be with the Board of Education, and then the second hour will be with the three town council candidates seeking to fill the term of Don Cushing, who has resigned his position. There'll be a 17-month term that will run through November of 2026. That'll be from 7 to 8. So let's get right to it and meet the candidates. And welcome, Charlotte Jacobs. If you could tell us a little about yourself and why you're running.
Yeah, I'm Charlotte Jacobs. I've lived in Scarborough since I was 5 years old. I went to Eight Corners for kindergarten through second grade and then graduated all the way through Scarborough High School. I have two kiddos in Scarborough currently. I have an 8-year-old and an almost 16-year-old. I also have been working in the field of early childhood education for the past 14 years. I am a program director in Gorham and have helped support Seedlings to Sunflowers in spearheading their pilot program with the public pre-K, and I'm excited to bring any, support for public pre-K to Scarborough and learn from fellow board members.
Welcome, Charlotte Jacobs. John Kelleher?
Yes, I'm John Kelleher. I also went to Eight Corners and then to Dunstan and so on and so forth. Been on the board for the last 3.5 years, doing the best I can. Just it's a lot, and it's fun and it's frustrating and sometimes thankless, but it's something that I enjoy doing. I have a 14-year-old 8th grader and a 15-year-old sophomore in the Scarborough that are here, and I guess I do it. Well, I do it for the town that I grew up in and I love, but then I'm like, I got my kids, so I want to be there for them too. So, and then there's kids that are coming after, and we want to be there for them. And I like giving back. So the town's done a lot for me, so I'm gonna give a little bit back.
Thank you, John. And Jillian Trapini Huff.
All right. So I have 4 children in the school system. 2 of them are in 3rd grade, one of them's in 5th grade, and one is returning to Scarborough for 10th grade next year. I'm primarily interested in supporting our Scarborough systems. I love the school system and I'm proud of it every single day. I am really interested in supporting the passing of a school solution for our kindergarten through eighth graders. It's been a lot of years that we've been working towards this, and I'm happy to continue working on that. And I'm also interested in community engagement. We always are trying to engage the community with our school system and ensure people are invested and interested. And so I'm interested to keep working on that as well.
Well, thank you, Jillian, and I will let people know in the audience that if you have a question, we've got some note cards over there, and Leroy has some paper, and if you have a question, just funnel it to Leroy and he'll get it over to me. I've had a couple questions that have come in earlier today on the Chamber of Commerce website, the Facebook page for the Chamber of Commerce, and I have some questions made up myself, and I think it's really, we're just going to have a conversation. All three of you are going to be on the Board of Education. So tell me about this school and your thoughts about it, and how Scarborough should support or decide. The whole process has been going on. I know we're down to two options, and we're talking, you speak of Pine Point School. My youngest went to Pine Point School, Eight Corners School, and my other two went to Pine Point. But let's talk about the neighborhood schools versus the kind of the new idea that's out there from the Department of Education. The Maine Department of Education is to have a central facility with wings. And what are your thoughts on the whole new school for Scarborough?
I think that the K-2 schools in Scarborough are completely outdated. Unfortunately, I think that there's definitely a need for expansion, and the two options I think are really great options. I know that at Eight Corners, the kiddos are losing instruction time because they have to use the cafeteria for PE and other extracurricular activities. And so they're losing instruction time because it's also used as the cafeteria. Among many other things, I've seen storage in student bathrooms when my son was in kindergarten, and just definitely needs an upgrade. I mean, I went through that school, as did John, like he said, and I think I can't speak to the other schools as much, but I know that Pleasant Hill definitely needs an upgrade in terms of security. Like you can, I think, I don't think that there's a secure front door at the front. And so I support the school options.
Thank you, Charlotte. John Kelleher?
Well, I know you probably won't believe this, but I went to Eight Corner School in 1974. And that was a few years ago. And the town has changed a lot since then. And we still, we had other smaller schools. We had Bessie School, we had Oak Hill and Dunston, but the town has just gotten bigger, and we got rid of schools. So now we have fewer schools than we did, but we have more students, and something needs to change. And I want the kids that come, my kids are past this, they went to Pleasant Hill, and while Pleasant Hill is a lovely school, it is old, it is small, it is outdated, and the kids, I remember going to see some of the performances that the kids were in the cafe, whatever the heck you call it, and it's a challenge to watch them, try to race from lunch to get it over to this, and kids do lose. They lose time that is valuable, that they could be learning because they're waiting, and we do need a solution, and I hope we find the right one, because we've had issues before. I mean, you look at the middle school, we got a new school, and then just as soon as we got it, it was too small, and we started with problems. So I don't want that to happen again. I want I want us to get the right solution, and I want people to be on board because the kids aren't going to stop coming, and they've got to go somewhere, and putting them in portables and unsafe situations like, anything without a vestibule and, there's a lot of, we have 4 different schools that have portables outside that aren't really safe or as safe as they could be or should be. And that is a big concern for me. So, I hope people understand that, yes, it's going to cost money, but everything does. So, and this is, we're going to be building for the future, and let's do it, right now, which we should have done it 20 years ago, but now we're doing it now because we have to. So let's not do it now and then have to do it again in 5 years. Let's get it sorted out and move forward.
Thanks, John. Jillian, your thoughts on the school options and the whole process?
I've been intimately involved with this process. When I joined the board, I started on the previous building committee, and that was sort of, the decision had been made already, and we were marching towards a referendum, which ultimately failed. And it failed for a lot of reasons, and it was a big learning curve for us. And so we had to do a lot of listening. When we assembled the next committee, we did so with 50 people. And so we heard lots of opinions and lots of anxiety. And what we really learned is that overall, Scarborough does support our education system, and everybody really does want an excellent solution. Now, we've been working on it for a year and a half, and we're down to 2 solutions. This has been a very difficult and thorough process. People are working tremendously hard. We're spending hours every single week in meetings trying to sort through all of the data. And some of the things that we have found out is that there's a huge loss of educational time to both of their points for a number of reasons. One of them is the lack of adequate cafeteria and gym space, art and music space. Also, there's a complete lack of storage. There are safety and security concerns. These schools are not properly insulated. The windows, the list goes on and on. And so in a lot of ways, Scarborough really wants to retain its identity with the 3 little schools, in at least 2 of them in neighborhoods, and one of them, 8 Corners, is not really in a neighborhood, but it's still part of the fabric and identity of this town. So what we're grappling with is, do we want to preserve that identity, or do we want to create a new one? And so we have 2 solutions that answer both of those. I'm very hopeful that one of those will rise to the top and really pass. The question becomes, can we solve all of our issues that we have and also be respectful of the taxpayer money? So I'm very hopeful that we can bring a really great solution to the referendum in November. But all of these issues have to be addressed. We can't keep sleeping on it. So I really hope that the community can rally around whatever the committee comes forward with.
Thanks, Jillian. John, I'm going to have you take the next question. And we're talking the finances for a capital project that's, been in development after a losing effort, 3 years ago. But we also have, and I believe it's a $71 million budget for the next fiscal year that we're going to be validating on June 10th. In that budget, thank you, that budget has been put together at a time where all of a sudden the federal funding, and we don't get much federal funding, but there's been so much coming from Washington and Augusta. How are we sitting, John, with that budget moving forward for fiscal year 26? Do you feel like everything's being covered? That should the essential services that are being covered?
I think, yes, I think the essential services that are being covered are, there, you know, there's certain things that were mandated to do, and we have put them in the budget. There have been positions that have, you know, they said, we have to have these, so we've added them in. Are there things that we need that we're covering? No, there's things that need to be done that we're not, because we're very cognizant of the costs. Everything has gone up. Things are, I mean, if anybody's been to the grocery store or anywhere knows that that stuff is expensive, and things go up, but not always does your income go up. So it's a, you know, walking the tightrope is, and they do a fantastic job uh, in, you know, the town and the school. We have some great people that are in place that are looking at what we need, what we have to have, and what can we do and how can we be creative, and we've done a fantastic job. So I know people think, oh geez, that's a lot of money, but that's the thing. It's a lot of money, but we have to, you know, we have to have, you know, we keep getting more kids, and we need, you know, we have to provide the services, and most of the budget comes, you know, it was about 80% is payroll. And then with payroll comes benefits, and there's just so much that goes into it. And I mean, hopefully one of the good things that can come, you know, if we do get a, you know, there's an option available that we could consolidate things and have one school, and then you're not paying for operations of 3 different schools. And you know, so you don't have 3 principals, you have 1 principal, and then, you know, there's other things that you can consolidate, and we can save money. There's not 3 different electric bills, and in buildings that are that much, you know, so old and not up to code, that we can hopefully save money, even though we are spending money. So there's, you know, the town is trying, we're doing the best we can. It's not an easy task for anyone, but we put a lot of work into it. And I think we're doing the best we can, and I think we've done a good job.
Thank you, John. Jillian, if you could just continue on, it's the, you know, the operating budget and how you've been able to keep it about the same as it was last year, but still deliver all the services and those contracts that John just mentioned that take up the majority of the budget.
Well, I mean, we have an incredibly talented administrative team who works tirelessly on this, and they were able to bring forward a budget that was thoughtful and covers all of our bases, and doesn't really add anything right now. I mean, to the point about the schools, there's not a lot of room to add anything right now anyway. So we are looking to maintain our 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 current services, and you know, also be mindful that we are going out to referendum again at some point with a big ask, and so we're trying to be respectful and responsible there. With regard to Washington and Augusta, sort of the good news and the bad news is Scarborough is a minimum receiver, which means that we don't get a lot from the state. I'm trying to come up with the exact number, and I'm not going to have it. So, but it's a low percentage of our money comes from the state. So we don't rely heavily on that. And we continue to make adjustments as time goes on. But for this year, the reason that we're bringing forward that budget is there are 2 schools of thought. One is we need to maintain our level services right now, and also that we are coming forward with a major ask.
Thanks, Jillian. Well, Charlotte's still with us, so that's a really good sign. Charlotte, your thoughts? I mean, you know this coming into it. You grew up here. You've seen the changes. Your take on the school budget and delivering the programs and services that you as a parent expect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm advocate and believer that investing in the future of the students and the community only really gives us, you know, it gives back in the end. And so it's really important to really you know, invest in the future of the students and our community. And that starts with, you know, the budget of the school and the town. And when we have a community that's so forthright and transparent about, you know, pulling people in to give their take on the project. I think it's really important that people do give their take, and that, you know, that's it for me.
Thank you. Jillian, going to start with you on this round, and we'll go kind of more to, I'm sure, why you wanted to run in the first place. Are there any significant new programming challenges that the schools are facing right now?
Oh, boy. That's a tough question. I don't know about significant challenges. I think that our staff do a lot of moving things around and making sure the kids absolutely get what they need. They're constantly bringing forward new ideas and ways of doing things and working together to make those things happen. I'm not aware of any major shortfalls in our system. And if so, I would expect it would be brought forward for us to hear about and learn about and solve for.
This was a question that came from our audience, and I was kind of, in reading it, I was thinking curriculum, that, you know, are there challenges in putting together or keeping the curriculum as it is, given the constraints that you may have from the budget, or do you see?
I am not aware of, I mean, once again, we are always investing time and money into our curriculum, and you know, we have an excellent leader in that area who is very much on top of the curriculum test scores and making adjustments as they see changes in scores and new trends.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Charlotte, I'm going to come to you. And again, are there particular interests that you have curriculum wise or program wise, things that you'd like to see improved versus other areas?
I can say, since I've graduated Scarborough High School, watching my daughter be able to access an array of different courses like criminology and the really quick access and enrollment that she got to the vocational program to study medical occupations. I think that Scarborough has done a great job at really growing their curriculum, and so I don't see any shortfalls.
John, a lot of things have changed since 1974 when you were over at Eight Corners. Um, Just keeping it on more the functioning school and the curriculum and what kids are learning and how they're learning, if your thoughts on that, please.
Well, and so I graduated in 1987. I know you can't believe it. You're like, seriously? But, and my daughter is a sophomore, and looking at the classes that she has options to take compared to, you know, that just weren't available because it wasn't even a thing back then, is mind blowing. And I know they do a great job at the high school of, you know, looking at what do kids want to do, what can they offer, what can they bring in, what's working, what's people not taking, and just because they're not taking it now doesn't mean that, you know, in 2 or 3 years they can't take it again. And we've had Nate come in and tell us, you know, things that they do and what they offer and how they do it and what they can make available. And it's fantastic. We've gotten grants for some, you know, for Wentworth has got grants for offering classes to kids, and some of it's amazing. And you think about it and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And what they have available today compared to, you know, we had cool things when, you know, back in the 80s and stuff, but you know, technology has taken us a long way, and I think the town has adapted well, and you can tell because people want to live here. And the schools are a big reason for that. And we're doing a good job. And I think that, that will continue. And, you know, obviously it takes the whole town to support it, but we've done a great job. And I think it's going to happen going forward.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
A question that came in earlier today to the Chamber of Commerce Facebook page, and it was an eye opener to me. I was not familiar with it. LD 1234. It's at the State House now, asking for support for bell-to-bell phone-free schools. And the question is this something that you would support, bell-to-bell phone-free schools, given the fact that cell phones have been shown to be highly addictive and hinder concentration in schools? So I did a little research on this question after getting it this afternoon, and LD 1234 has been discussed in a public hearing in committee with our State Representative Kelly Murphy from Scarborough, is one of the legislators involved in bringing it forward. And how would you stand on that, to have a policy to have no cell phones during school hours?
Well, I know right now Scarborough actually has a cell phone policy that they're enforcing. I hear about it a lot, and my daughter's not happy about it, but I support it. I think it's 50-50 for me, right? Because we live in a day where it can be scary. For me, it's hard to buy into my daughter not having a phone on her body, because what if she needs that phone in case of an extreme emergency? And so I can see both sides of it. I do really actually respect the policy that's happening at Scarborough right now, and I know that's not by popular high school demand.
Well,
John?
I have my son is there on his phone right now. So he's 14, he's in 8th grade, and that's his life, and he wants a new one, and he's not happy. But, you know, the thing is, if legislature comes out and they make that a law, it doesn't matter what I think. We will implement it because that's our job, and we'll do it whether I like it or not. And it doesn't matter what I think about it. I go, if I want to change that, I'd have to, step over to the other side of the tracks and get into the legislature. So, I understand that people think that cell phones are, they're great and they're awful all at the same time. I think a lot of it starts at home, and people have to, the kids are at school, and most of the time they're learning. I don't think any kids just doom scrolling and doing whatever they're doing at school. Yeah, I'm sure sometimes, but not all the time. But the school can only do so much. But if they come out and say that, don't bring a phone to school, then that's what we'll say. That's the policy. And if you do it, we will have steps in place to uphold that, and to make sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to do by law. And that's what it comes down to. So if they say it, then we'll do it. And if they don't, we'll do the best we can to do what's best for the kids and everyone involved.
Thank you, John Kelleher. And Jillian Trapani Huff.
Well, I have many, many opinions of what should happen at federal and state level with regard to especially social media and the content that kids can access. But if just sticking to the cell phone policy and what this law might mean for us, I do think that the cell phones and social media and other, all the apps on these phones are highly addictive. I think that we know that they can really lead to anxiety and depression. There can be a lot of bullying. They can be dangerous. And I think that minimizing the use at school is important. I think as somebody who worked on this policy for Scarborough, I think that we really struck a balance between what we heard the needs were in at the actual school levels. And so the K through 8 do not have cell phones. They have a bell-to-bell ban, or those policies have been implemented actually before this policy went through. And then there's been a much scaled down access during the school day. And again, as other people have pointed out, that's not wildly popular with the kids. But I think it's an important thing to draw those boundaries. Kids do have to learn how to um, exist with cell phones around them and focus. But they also need to focus on school. But I think one of the things that we heard was that there are many systems that are kind of dependent on the kids having technology. The technology is changing all of the time, and to try to keep up with that from a budgetary standpoint is very difficult. I mean, the cameras are getting better every year. We would have to be replacing cameras to keep up with that every single year for various things, from science projects to art projects to any number of things that the kids use these devices for, organization, calendars, so on and so forth. So I think that we struck a pretty good balance for our district in terms of what we were hearing from both sides of that debate. But as far as the bill goes, we will have to wait and see how that comes out. And of course, I would support following the law.
Thank you. As Charlotte was answering her question, what came into my head was what we saw on the news on Friday night. I think it was Friday night down at Biddeford High School. Seeing an armed man in the parking lot in a car and their response to it. My question, John, is how do we address and ensure student and staff safety, and how much of that do you devote in your school board meetings? I mean, is it an active subject that you speak about, or is it one that we have the systems in place and the protocols and procedures in place?
I think it's a thing that's always getting talked about. We have things in place, and as we learn more, we will change and evolve and do things as we need to. So if we have to update a procedure or change something, we will do it. If more information comes out, we have the resource officers. They're a big help. But there's always, a curveball coming in, and I think that the superintendent and all the administrators do a fantastic job of being on top of things. They have a great relationship with the public, our police and fire, and they're fantastic with the way they communicate and get along, and everybody cares about all of the kids everywhere, and we'll continue to address things as they come up. And there's things that you don't even think of, then one day you're like, I didn't even know that was a thing, and then there it is. And we have I know we have meetings at least quarterly for the safety. We have a committee that people are on, and they talk about what's happening, what's going on, what can we do, what do we need to do, what are we hearing, and we do a great job. And luckily, as of now, we haven't had any major incidents. We have had small things, and believe me, I'm horrified when I get a text that says at the middle school or at the high school or whatever school, doesn't matter. But I mean, I have kids in a couple of schools, so if I'm like, oh boy, is everything okay? And it has been. I mean, heck, back in the day, in the 80s, you could drive to school with your gun in your gun rack if you were out hunting during the day, and it wasn't a big deal. And then, I have a couple friends who were like, hey, the principal will be like, hey, do you mind just putting it behind your seat, so that nobody sees it? And we're not in that time anymore. That's a true story. And, and Danny Sullivan, if you're watching, you know. But yeah, you do that now and I mean, geez, things are not gonna go well. So things have changed and the times are different and I wish we could go back, but we can't. So we'll just do everything we can to make things as safe for everyone as we can going forward. And whatever that looks like, that, you know, I don't think there's anything that's off the table to do what we need to do to keep everybody safe.
Jillian, your thoughts on it, but I must say that the response in Biddeford seemed to be like classic. I mean, it seemed like they had everything covered and it was very impressive how quickly they just snuffed it right out.
Yeah, I can't speak to that situation, but I can speak to the ways in which small and, you know, what seemingly large emergencies are handled here in Scarborough, and it's with a great amount of skill. So I know that we have a district emergency management team that is comprised of a number of people, including police and fire, town and school staff, and a school board member. And they do regular trainings. They talk about the technology interface, the how our messages are getting out to staff, so everybody knows where every child is, and also how things are being delivered to parents, and also not to create major chaos on campus. So we do talk about these things and hear about these things, but largely district emergency management team is the one who is on the group that is really on top of that. And I have a great deal of respect for what they do, and I'm glad that I don't have to do it every day.
Charlotte, you prompted my question with just your reaction. I could just read it on you. Your thoughts on keeping the schools secure?
I think Scarborough does a great job of communicating with parents and, you know, getting the facts across in real time. I really do appreciate being able to also, you know, follow up with somebody and get an answer pretty quickly. I feel pretty good about the safety in Scarborough. I really love that the public safety building is right there. I like that our campuses are pretty close aside from the K through 2 ones, which I think the school option would, you know, be a beneficial in keeping us all close knit. But overall, I'm proud to say that my kids are safe in Scarborough.
Thank you, Charlotte. Boy, time's flying. I mean, we've only got 12 more minutes of questions and then I'll hand it over to you for your closing statements. But we're about halfway through our Board of Education discussion with the three candidates that are running for 3 seats, 3-year terms, and all will be officially on the Board of Education after the June 10th election. Charlotte Jacobs, John Kelleher seeking reelection, and Jillian Trapani Huff seeking reelection. So let's go on to more questions, and just wanted to change the tone for a little bit. Jillian, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of from your involvement with the Board of Education and the Scarborough school system?
Oh, my goodness. From my involvement on the school board, I have a few things I'm really proud of, but one of the really fun things that we've had the opportunity to do was in one of our workshops, an idea came up to have a senior citizen appreciation dinner. And so the past 2 years, I've been on that team, and we have set up, advertised, and gotten this year about 80 Scarborough senior citizens to come down, see some of the kids. Yeah, so we have some helpers in the audience. Kids came to sing, dance, show off the robots. Our nutrition team made and served dinner. And it's been really great both years last year was, it was our first one. We didn't know what we were doing. It went off without a hitch. This year was even better. I'm really proud of that in terms of, I think it's good for community engagement. And I think it's a really nice way to get our seniors that may not have grandkids or any connection to the school a chance to see some of the great things going on at Scarborough schools.
Thank you. Charlotte, you're a parent. You've got kids in the school system. What makes you most proud of the Scarborough school system, and what do you know, or what actions by the Board of Education have made you most proud?
I can say that I am really proud of Scarborough. I was a kid who struggled with depression and anxiety, and without special education from Scarborough, I would have never been successful and probably graduated. And so I know how supportive this community is, and I know how deeply they care and the time and effort they put into their students, because I was one of those students. And so I can say, without a doubt, the support that the teachers and the admin team, and I know the Board of Education has a role in that too, makes a huge difference in people's life, for mine, for sure. So I'm eternally grateful to Scarborough Schools, and that is a huge reason why I decided to run for Board of Education to give back.
Thank you. And John Kelleher, what are you most proud of from your time on the Board of Education and your many years involved in the Scarborough school system?
High school was the best 7 years of my life. Leroy and I graduated together. He remembers. Uh, with the school, honestly, how much I've learned that you have no idea unless you get into it, what it takes to do what they do. It's incredible. I sat on a couple of hiring committees for, I did the principal at Pleasant Hill and then for the superintendent. And after the first one, I was like, you go, oh, this person's great. And, you learn that maybe you have to look at things a little differently, and you have to, to talk to other people, and they'll tell you what you should really be looking for, not, this answer, maybe they said this, but this is, I just learned so much. And then I made sure that I was part of hiring the superintendent, and it was a big ask for time, but I didn't care. And I told the kids, I'm like, hey guys, you're going to be without me for a little bit tonight or tonight or tonight. And I'm like, but I got to do this. And I learned a lot, and I was very, very proud of the fact that I got to be part of, moving things forward. So what I gained and I have gained in knowledge has been incredible. And I don't know, I'm just scratching the surface with what there is to know. So, learning, it never stops. And learning about what goes on in your community is a good thing, because, and I have people that, doesn't matter where I go, and people know me around town, and they talk to me, and being able to answer questions for people, because I've learned so much, and they may think that it's one thing, but they've heard it from, 17 other people. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. We can't do that. It's this. And they're like, oh. And so being able to share what I've learned with people is also been amazing, because believe me, it's come up, and the kids are like, Dad, are we gonna have dinner? I'm like, give me another minute. I just gotta explain this, and then we can sit down and eat, but I've gotta do this. And I don't mind doing that, and believe me, my kids mind, but I don't, and because people, they count on you when, they elected you. And if they have questions, I'm gonna have some answers for them. And if I don't, I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna get back to them. And I appreciate the fact that I've been able to do that. And it's big. It's been big for me.
Thank you, John. This will be our last question, and I thought about it, and it's just, if it doesn't indicate the changing times that we live in, I don't know what other question I could ask. Some Maine school districts are facing lawsuits for allegedly violating Title IX by allowing transgender girls to participate in girls' sports. In some districts, it affects their federal funding, but as you know from reading the newspapers and watching the news, there have been school districts that have had their Board of Educations have been coming out and making statements or ruling, one way or the other. Your thoughts on Title IX and how the Scarborough Board of Education should handle that issue should it come forward? And I'm going to go to Jillian to start on that one.
Oh, boy, this is a tough topic.
It
and
is.
and there are real humans involved in this discussion, and a lot of real feelings involved in this. And first and foremost, we want everybody to feel safe and like they belong in our school system. And so with regard to that, we are following the legal guidance that has been handed down from our legal team. That's why we have them. They are able to tell us how Title IX and Maine state law align, and have provided us with the guidance to follow. They do not believe that Maine law goes up against Title IX. And I understand that some people feel differently. And I do think that this is a big discussion to have. I don't know if I can adequately answer this. I feel a little lost on this topic. It's a big, big topic. And, but with regard to this district, we follow our legal advice.
Thank you, Jillian. Charlotte, and I do realize it's a very complex and difficult subject. But Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously am not a part of the board yet, but like Jillian said, I know that Maine schools across the board are following the law, and I think it's important to know that Title IX doesn't discriminate against gender identity, and so that is included in the Maine Human Rights Act. And so I think it's really important too to think about if we're going to be pushing anything to ban what they call non-biological or biological males in sports. We really need to look at what that looks like for all students, because it's scary to think that changing those laws would then put all children at risk.
Thank you, Charlotte. And John Kelleher on the subject of Title IX.
And this one is honestly, yes, it's a very complex topic, but for us, because it's what the state has mandated, it doesn't matter, again, what I think, it's we have to do. We have to follow what the state thinks, and that works on a lot of different things. If you like a policy or if you hate a policy, it doesn't matter, because it's the law. You have to do what they say. So I will always do that and support it, because that's just how it is. I think everyone should be able to express themselves any way they want, and it shouldn't matter to anybody else. To getting into athletes and things like that, that is way above my pay grade, and I'm not I'm not going to say it's right or it's wrong, because I don't know really what it is. I don't. I'm just a guy that works every day, and then I come out and do this to try to help as best I can. And what I think is really irrelevant. I will support whatever the state tells me that I have to support. And even if I don't like it, and if I do like it, that's awesome. And if I don't, then, then there's other ways to fight what you want to have out there. You talk to legislators, you do what you have to do. You rally, you get out there. And I think part of what I do is my way of, I get a voice. I come out, I ran I actually had to run for, to campaign, and because there were 4 spots, 4 people in 3 spots last time, so we didn't know who was gonna get in. So I had to go out and talk to people, and Jillian and I, we walked neighborhoods, we talked to people in their, on their front stoop or in their garage or wherever they were, and we told them what we felt and what we believe and what we wanna do. And we were lucky enough to get elected, and I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I'm going to be going forward for the next 3 years, and even heck, when I'm done with that, my son will still be in school, so I may have to do it again. I don't know, but I will continue to do what I think is best for the kids, the school, the town, and my conscience, and then whatever the state says I have to do.
Thank you, John Kelleher. There is one other question, and I was fumbling around and I see it here. The last time the school, well, this is our final question. The last time the school bond failed. So how will each of you work to get the vote out for a vote in support of the next school bond? Charlotte?
Kind of like John was just talking about, I think it starts with, canvassing and hitting the roads and really chatting with, community members and getting the feedback and hearing both sides. I think that's kind of the biggest part. And then likely holding, little meetings to really rally around and give people a place to give their thoughts.
Thank you, Charlotte Jacobs. John Kelleher?
Honestly, I think that's the only way to know that you're getting to people is to actually talk to them. So, I mean, if we have to go to door, we'll go door to door. And I mean, it's a two-way street, and we need people to be engaged with us as much as we are with them. But sometimes you got to meet people where they are, and we got to go to them. And if we can't get them to come to us, then I know every one of us will go door to door, and I know we'll get other people that'll do it with us, because it's important. It's something the town needs. It's a problem that's not going anywhere and will only get worse. So whatever we have to do, I know we'll do it. We'll have town halls and meetings, and everything's available online. But there's no substitute for actually talking to somebody face to face and telling them and saying, hey, what are your thoughts on this, and how do you feel about it? And do you have all the information, and do you want more information? And we'll be happy to get it to them. And that's why, like I said earlier, when people come up to me and talk to me, it's important that I finish that conversation. Doesn't matter if I'm at Hannaford or if I'm at Pat's Pizza or wherever I'm at. Not that I go to Pat's Pizza a lot, but I do.
Thank you, John. Jillian?
Well, I think that right now we are trying to get people involved and invested and helping make the decision, before, helping make the decision, educating people before the decision is made, so that people feel like they were part of the process and are interested in supporting it, first of all. Second of all, getting out and encouraging people to vote, answering questions, as the same as these two have already said. We've had significant changes to the way that we communicate with the loss of the leader, the printed leader in everybody's mailbox. So we are looking for new ways to engage with people and provide that education. In fact, getting people out to forums is really tough, but it's one opportunity. But getting out and talking to people is the number one way. There's a lot of people in Scarborough, so we're going to need all hands on deck.
Thank you, Jillian Trapani Huff. You'll have a chance to give you a closing statement here in a minute or so. I'll start with John and go to Jillian and then end with Charlotte. But what we've been meeting are the 3 candidates that will be serving 3-year terms on the Board of Education. kind of a thankless job when you think about the complexity of the issues, the sensitivity of some of these topics and issues that you have to deal with, and then also be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money at the same time. I mean, there's certainly a professional force around them, but you should be very proud of the fact that you've served and proud that you're willing to serve, and we thank you for your service. We will be, after your closing statements, moving to the town council portion of our program, which again is brought to you by the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce. And tonight is just the latest in what we've been doing for the last 25 years here in town. So with closing statements, I'll start with John Kelleher.
Vote for me. Well, you know, I mean, you can not vote, but enough people will, and I'll be on. It's fine. And when you say thankless job, and if you look at it, obviously we have one new person people aren't pounding the door down to do this. It's a lot. And, but you feel good about it. And I know people have lots, I mean, I have 2 kids and they have sports and they have jobs and they have a lot that pull, but there's always some time. She's got 4 kids. I don't know how she does it. But I love this town. You know, when I got married, I didn't live in Maine at the time. And I said, if we have kids, and this is before I got married, I said, this is a deal breaker for me. We have to raise our kids in Scarborough. And I'll tell you, at the time, my wife cried when I said I got a job in Maine. We were going back, and she was upset. But that was that important to me to be here, and I don't regret it. I wanted my kids to grow up here because I grew up here, and it was the best place. I mean, I couldn't think of a better place, and I will do anything I can for the town, and for my kids, and for my friends, and for people that I can help. So. Thank you for electing me, and I'm happy to serve you.
Thank you, John Kelleher. Jillian Trapani Huff.
Well, I'm like John, also very proud to serve not only this community, but this school system. Really grateful to live here and for my children to go to school here. And that we do have a very invested and interested community. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to start dyeing my hair before the end of my term, but it is.
At least
it
you
is.
have-
It is a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It's I'm missing a baseball game right now, but I hear that my child hit a couple of good hits, so I'm super excited to go see him for that. But yeah, I'm really grateful for a second opportunity to serve this community and to continue to support Scarborough schools.
Thank you, Jillian, and Charlotte Jacobs.
I'm really excited at the opportunity to be able to serve the town that I grew up in, and that really wraps me up in love and made sure I was successful. It's been really amazing to watch my kiddos go through the same schools I've gone through, have similar teachers, and just a really positive experience. I fully intended to do the canvassing and all that was intended. But I definitely got off easy here, but I'm really committed to doing what it takes to support the fellow board members and current board members, and however I can. I've been pouring in a lot of work to the Gorham community, and so I felt it was time to look inward and give back to the community that helped me grow.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you all. It was a pleasure meeting you in person this time. And we will take a short break. We'll take a short break and set up for the town council portion of tonight's program. It's Candidates Night in Scarborough, the May edition. in Scarborough. We're coming to you live from the Town Council chambers at Scarborough Town Hall. My name is Kevin Freeman. I am a volunteer with the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a member of the SEDCO board, the Scarborough Economic Development Corporation Board. With me tonight is the president of the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce, Leroy Crockett. He is handling questions that come from the audience and from our Facebook page, the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. And with him is Chip Schrader from the Scarborough Public Library. So I get some help behind the scenes, and in addition to the great staff here at the Scarborough Community Television. We have a contested election for the town council. Don Cushing resigned his position. He has 17 months left in his term, and the three candidates here tonight are running to fill that seat on the town council. So that'll run through the election in June through to November of 2026. Our three candidates are Lawrence Larry Kane, Donald Scott Gonzar, and a return candidate who ran last fall, Crescencia Mora, who we call Cressy. And welcome all three of you. I'm going to just hand it over to you to do your introduction as to your background and why you're running. And we'll start with Larry Kane.
Good evening. Thanks to Kevin and Leroy and Chip and the Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about the issues tonight. I first arrived or visited Scarborough almost 60 years ago. And a lot has changed back then. We would save up our money to go to the Len Libby's on Spurwink Road, which is now a house. And over time, my sisters worked at the Marshview restaurant and my brothers worked at Scarborough Downs. And both of those things have been in the news recently, the Marshview site. And so a lot has changed in Scarborough, but what is really special and comforting is that the people truly haven't. It's a very special place to live. We feel very fortunate to be here. I'm running for town council based on my experience with the school construction project. I'm the vice chair of that committee, and we've been working on it for a total of about 18 months. And the second phase of that we are in now. And it's 22 very dedicated community members along with liaisons from both the school board and the town council. And everybody is really dedicated. It inspires me that when you have a group that large, that you can find people that are that committed. And the process has been very rewarding, and in the way the interaction has happened as we've gone through these really tough issues of trying to narrow down what are the best options for Scarborough schools. And the whole group is collaborative, works very openly and respectfully, and those attributes of being in a town-run committee made me interested in trying to do more than that. And we'll move on from there, I guess.
Thank you, Larry Kane. Scott Gonzar.
Yes, well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I am new to the area, get that out right front. I moved here last year. We've lived out west for about 20 years, been in Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado. People ask me where I'm from. I'm originally from a little town just like this in northern Michigan called Traverse City, Michigan. It's a beautiful town, lots of great natural resources, just like it is here. And so what brought me to Maine was my wife's family. And so my wife is like, I want to be close to my family again. And so I said, okay, let's move 2,500 miles. And we restructured our business. I'm a business owner out there in Wyoming. And so, and now here I'm a financial planner throughout the community. Before owning a business, I was an infectious disease microbiologist.
Oh, thank you, apparently.
He just signaled me. I wasn't.
No,
jumping in.
appreciate it. Well, I'm about as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. So, with that being said, yeah, so I don't know if any of that got recorded or not, but I guess what I'm just saying is, you know, I have a vested interest. One is a property owner here, but foremost, that I'm a dad. And my daughter is in the Blue Point School. She's in kindergarten with Miss Altieri, who's been an amazing educator so far. And along with everybody else in the staff in that school. And so because of that, I've always firmly believed in if I'm going to be part of something, I'm going to be active in it. So, you know, I'm active and I'm a Freemason. I belong to the Triangle Lodge #1 in Portland. There, I do a lot of volunteer work through them, through our firm. We also do a lot of volunteer work. We're actually organizing a beach cleanup, starting at Old Orchard Beach Pier all the way up to the Nonsuch River. And so we're just basically grabbing garbage bags. Anybody wants to join in, come join us. And the town of Scarborough has allowed us to use their dumpsters when we're done, so we can put all the trash in there. So I have a lot of vested interest in how the town is growing. I've seen what happens when a town grows too fast. The gentrification happens. You get priced out of paradise. Let's see, you know, there's just, and so those are the reasons why I'm running for town council, because I would like to have just a little more than a voting input. And yeah, what was the signal? I got the the 2 minutes is up? Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Scott, before we go further, am I pronouncing your last name
You
correctly?
are.
Okay, I just
Absolutely.
wanted to make sure. Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
And Cressy, I'm not going to pronounce your first name. Cressy Moore is our third candidate seeking the term on the Scarborough Town Council.
Yes, so as most of you know, I ran in last fall and I was not successful, but I still have a passion to serve Scarborough. I've been here since 2019. Like Scott, I followed my spouse to Maine because of the job. He's a wildlife biologist and he manages a national wildlife refuge on the coast. But I also have a real passion for the environment. And I think one of the reasons we chose Scarborough is just because it's just beautiful natural beauty. I've thrown myself into volunteering. I've been volunteer as a beach monitor at Pine Point. For the past 3 years, I've been actually going out for about, 4 months of the year and testing water quality on all the tributaries that go into Scarborough Marsh. And seeing that our waterways are really compromised by the level of development, that and the need to protect the marsh. Seeing things like the storms. So I've been very involved in that, joined the Friends of Scarborough Marsh. Last year, I helped write a grant that got $1.4 million for Scarborough to help conserve the marsh in the future. So I'm really proud of that. So I still have, a passion for that. I also, people don't know, I have a background really in promoting literacy. I love libraries. I was a former friend of president of a Friends of the Library group. We did a lot of work I also served on a cooperative nursery school that was the only early education option in the town I lived. So I also, like I said, I have a passion for nature and nurture. So I'd like to really, I think our children are the future. So one of the reasons I'm running is I really am concerned about that balance between the growth and really preserving the quality of life in Scarborough. I'd like to see a better balance. I'm someone that rolls up my sleeves and likes to, get to work. And I'd like to, help push through the school bond. I'd like to help, bring investment into some things like our roads, our stormwater system, our library, our community service, and get some of that infrastructure rebalanced and investments in that. So.
Thank you, Cressy Moore. Those are all subjects that we want to talk about tonight. And we'll go, I'll be jumping from person to person to start on each question. And we'll just keep rotating through. I just got a question up here from the audience. And I'm going to ask it. And we'll start with you, Scott. What do you bring to the town council that helps bring balance to the current makeup of the board, of the
Yeah,
council?
absolutely. Did I get this? Is this on? Okay.
It should just stay on, yeah.
There we go. Okay. That's a great question. You know, I bring a lot. So for example, I don't know if I already said this, I'm an infectious, I worked as an infectious disease microbiologist for a while, especially when, in Wyoming, I co-ran the state tuberculosis lab. I was a state biosafety officer and, help oversee 27 Sentinel laboratories and the practices there as well, deep in public health and things like that. Especially that during that time, when Ebola hit Texas, that was when it came stateside. That was a big thing that really I learned a lot from. Uh, then on top of that, you know, I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for 10 years. I own one of the largest coffee roasteries in the state of Wyoming. Built that up from the ground up, basically roasting out of the backyard. I'm going door to door, knocking on doors, learning how to build a business, how it takes a community to help build a business, not just money. And so with that, and then from there, you know, becoming a financial planner and understanding that, working with aging population, making sure that, you know, it really is a thing that I think we're going to talk about here. So to answer your question, I have a very diverse background and a freshness, even though I haven't lived here that long, especially, I mean, like quite a while, and you as well. And so, but I feel that I can bring a freshness to this and a diverse background to, I keep looking for the signal. So, to the board. And I really have a passion for being an amplifier for the constituents of the community, for people that have, you know, opinions that want to be voiced and things like that. So, and also working with, you know, the dynamic population that we have, especially an aging population where taxes are going up and people are on fixed incomes. That's a real concern. And being a financial planner, I work with a lot of people in that situation, especially as rising prices are going up, taxes go up, things like that, the cost of things. I'm not saying that the things that this town needs or buys is not valid. I'm just saying that the fact is that costs are going up, people are on fixed incomes, and we need to be conscientious about that, or you know, conscious about that, and to see, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Scott Gonzar. Cressy Moore, what do you bring to the town council that helps bring balance to the current makeup of the council?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think what kind of, we've got a lawyer and we've got anyway, I really, the thing I bring is I've worked a lot in the nonprofit sector and doing a lot of community volunteering and organizing. That's something that I've done both, you know, in the small towns where I've lived. There was a book band, for example, in the town I lived, and I organized against that, you know, and trying to, you know, go to school board meetings and sort of try to convince the school board that that was not the way to go. I have worked overseas as well in Latin America on in slums, looking at their wastewater treatment and water quality and how to protect their drinking water quality. So I've worked with a lot of people from various, you know, socioeconomic backgrounds, various cultural backgrounds. I don't know if anybody else brings that to the table, but I think it's a, you know, a compliment. I've done a lot of project management, a lot of fundraising, and grant writing. So I think that is a compliment to what's, you know, folks on the town council.
Thank you, Cressy. Larry Kane, what do you bring to the town council that'll help bring balance to the makeup of the council?
I think I'd start with that the town council is extremely talented. I interact with them quite a bit with the school project. But specifically what I would bring that, I wouldn't say I've seen it missing so much, but the attributes I have is similar to Scott. I ran a small, ran a successful small business for 35 years. So that gives me a lot of experience in budgeting and setting goals and overcoming challenges, building consensus around ideas, and So that aspect of my life, I think, is absolutely applicable to the council and would bring some different viewpoints. And the other one is the school project, that effort and a year and a half of work, 2 years, pretty much by the time we're done with it. I would really be able to carry forward the expertise from that process and the learnings from that to the council, because eventually that will be the next step. And in June, we'll make a recommendation to the Board of Ed and the town council. And then it will be up to them. Like I said, it's a citizens committee. So we're not building the referendum. That's up to the two bodies to come to agreement on that. They can amend what we say or not. And but I think the continuity of that, of me moving from the project right now to the council and being able to shepherd that through, would be a real add for the council.
Thank you, Larry Kane. All right, I'm going to jump right into it. It's looming over this candidates night, and that's the $133 million budget that's been put out there for what we're now down to 2 options for the new K through 2. And it's interesting in preaching to the choir here with Larry, but improvements to the middle school and improvements to Wentworth. And I would call them modest, especially to Wentworth. I think it's 1 classroom, but those are on both options to address the inefficiency in the size of the middle school, and also the necessary improvements that need to be made to a relatively new school, Wentworth, on both options. So, Cressy, where do you stand on the school issue?
Well, I am supportive of whatever is chosen by the community and by, ends up being as a choice. I have a preference because as I'm knocking on doors, I'm hearing a lot of people who would love to preserve the 3 local, schools. I discussed with them that means a higher operating budget, or not a change in the advantage of the other option of a central school is a lower operating budget. But people really want their local schools to, they feel that maintains a fabric of their community, that it's a community sort of fabric stitching together through local schools, and that's very important to them. So ultimately, I will vote for whatever the School Building Advisory Council puts forward and the town council puts forward. But I'm leaning towards that 3-school option. I think that you mentioned what I'm very happy about is that both solutions don't ignore, they incorporate the need of a major addition to the middle school and that small addition to Wentworth. Basically, because of the safety upgrades that will go along with that, and the ability to absorb the growing population of middle school students. So I'm just very supportive of it. I know that there are options to shave it down to 100 million if you take off some of these, additions. But I think that we are then just kicking the can down the road, and we'll be back before the taxpayer at a higher cost to address the middle school problem. So I think we should probably try to just bite the bullet and solve the problem at all 3, at the middle school, Wentworth, and the K through 2.
Thank you, Cressy. Larry Kane, your stance on the school?
I'm for it. I appreciate what Cressy said. The 2 options are both very viable. We spent a lot of time getting there. It started with 7 options with 5 variables on top of those. So it's been a lot of work to get it down to 2. I'm pleased that there's an option for a consolidated single school and an option that retains the 3 primary schools, 1 being brand new and 2 being renovated. Because those really were the 2 choices we heard that people wanted to compare. And so we get to see the community support for both of those. There's the second survey that we've done of the community closed yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And so we should have the raw numbers back from that by our meeting next Monday. So that's a really vital piece of information for making the decision along with the community. Chris, you made a great point that there are advantages and disadvantages to both. And I think our job is to find the option and the price tag that can build a coalition to pass it. At this point, we've gone through a couple of rounds of it. But at this point, doing nothing is not a real option. So by bringing the community along with us in this, we've done 2 public forums. This is the 2nd survey. The public is welcome at all our meetings. The difference maybe compared to the failed option is that from the start, we've really wanted the opinions and perspectives of the community. And that is one of the things that's informing us on how to make that final decision of which option to put forward.
Thank you, Larry Kane. And Scott Gonzar, your thoughts on the proposed school solution?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm about right in the middle of these two, physically and metaphorically, right? So, I can see from a financial planning perspective, I definitely see that having a more centralized school, reducing costs on busing, reducing costs on a lot of different things, increasing safety, of course, is a primary concern, right? That kind of thing. Heard earlier from a few people that were running for the school board that were talking about some of the portables that I have not visited. However, what they've said is that there was no foyer or something, a way to block, an intruder coming into that. And that's disturbing in itself. And so, but also on the other hand, there's one thing that I've learned here is that when the community that's centered around the school, like for me, Blue Point, right? My daughter's in kindergarten. And so, and the community that's around that, the people the kids that she plays with, I mean, just down the street, the things that we do, we form like a micro community, if you will, within a community. And I see the importance of that. And I worry that maybe something like that, and I've talked to a few people, and they're concerned about those things, about that neighborhood feeling disappearing, going away, right? When you have a more centralized school. So I'm torn between the two, looking at from a financial perspective and then also from a community perspective. But I do agree that I think we definitely have to bite the bullet, steal your words, and I think that's where I agree as well. Something needs to be done, right? The cost of the remodeling, adding things, kids they deserve better than portables. Right? They deserve to have a better classroom environment and things like that. And so, and of course, I'm going to go with whatever the community votes on, of course. But I'm honestly torn between the two. I don't have the extensive experience that you have sitting on your board and going through this and literally building, right? And then also, and you, of course, seeing this and but me having the emotional attachment to my daughter going and where she's going to go to school, then that's what really makes me want to go towards the community aspect option, what I'm calling the community option, as opposed to more of the centralized location. But again, the financing perspective of it, there's a cost to it. And I think that I think going forward is going to be a good thing for the town. Sorry.
Thank you, Scott. We're back to Larry leading off and I'm just gonna go to your opening statement, Larry. And I ate at the Marshview back in the 80s and I live in that area of town and certainly it's been a front page story of the housing and more to the point, affordable and workforce housing. It's part of the council's goals for this year to address that, and you'll be jumping into that position, should you be successful. Your thoughts on growth overall, but also the growth of affordable and workforce housing within that?
Okay, still 2 minutes, right?
And you'll start.
I was definitely against that Marshu project in particular. It had a lot of the council did vote that down with a 6-0 verdict. And, but many of the councilors expressed to the developer to come back with a adjusted project because there is interest in both affordable and workforce housing. The background I have with my company was we were in a commercial furniture business, and we furnished quite a bit of supportive veterans housing, all types of programs like that. So I've seen the benefit and the good in those programs. I think there's a place in Scarborough for that. It's needed. That particular site just wasn't the right site for the size of that project. But I do think that senior housing is a significant need, and particularly it would be wonderful if it served the seniors of Scarborough. I don't know, you can't limit that, I don't think, as you do the development, but it would be good to see an onus on that. There's a couple of different ways that seniors are having a hard time in Scarborough with rising taxes and these capital projects adding to their taxes. So it would, I think there's certainly a place to develop those projects. The South Portland group that was doing that is very good at it, and I'd like to see them come back with a different option. But I'm very supportive of both those types of housing.
Thank you, Larry Kane. The question is about growth in Scarborough, and in particular, senior housing, affordable and workforce housing. How do you get that into the mix for the many people that work in this town? Scott?
Oh, me, okay, sorry. So, those are great questions. So, I believe this town does face a couple of challenges, balancing growth and preserving character of the town, right? So, and we're talking about rising house costs, and making it affordable for senior living, making it affordable for important attributes to our community. Say, for example, teachers, EMS, whether it's fire, police, things like that. So we're not just talking about, having affordable housing for just people wanting to move here, where these are important people that contribute to our community. And how, but the use of land, like, for example, that wasn't the antique store that's up here on Route 1. The
Flea market.
the flea market,
Yeah.
thank you. And, the use of that, using that for, income-based housing for for EMS workers and things like that, as well as senior living. Really, I really like that type of control of growth and things like that. Seeing, unfortunately, growing up in my town in Traverse City, Michigan, I've seen that gentrification basically, means that, very wealthy people, affluent people come in and they drive up the prices. The Madonnas, the Mel Gibsons, that came into my town and basically just made it so expensive they got priced out of paradise, right? And I would hate to see that happen here, because you have a lot of the same natural resources and things like that. You have, Pine Point Beach, you have the marsh, you have all the trails and everything, and all the lands and everything that's around here, all the historical components to everything that's here. That's so beautiful that people want to come here, they want to live here, they want to visit here, and things like that. Is going to drive up the cost. And then, we're in a really unique time right now. Housing is not, people are not selling their houses. One, they're in a great mortgage rate of less than 3%. And then two, if they do sell their house, the other houses are just as much as what they sold their house for. So where are they going to go? And so it's quite a predicament that the community is in. But I think with controlled growth and with some really well thought out options, I think we can still manage it without it getting crazy.
Thank you, Scott Gonzar. Cressy Moore, subject of housing, growth,
Got it.
and in particular, affordable and workforce housing.
Okay. So, I would like to see a slower pace of growth overall. I think though that is, there's a lot of stuff already in the pipeline and I'd like to see us manage what we have allowed and are allowing under our long-term development plan. And I think if we want to really, ratchet back, we're gonna have to go back to that long-term development plan and think, broadly about what kind of growth we want. That said, I do think that affordability is an issue. It's a larger issue than Scarborough. It's a national and state issue. Partly gentrification. A lot of people have second homes here. There's a real, but so you have long-term Scarborough residents whose own children can't afford to remain in Scarborough. And I think that's sort of tragic. So workforce housing is important. I would like to see it, though, done at a sort of smaller scale in the sense of, I don't want to see some huge apartment complex. I think that would change the character of Scarborough. I would love to see things done on smaller parcels, maybe 4 or 5 units scattered around town, or under 10 units, so that you don't have sort of like an office workers ghetto. You avoid that sort of approach, and you don't change. You don't create a part of Scarborough that's sort of out of character to the rest of Scarborough, and it's done tastefully. It's done in a way that's integrated with the other residential development in Scarborough. I would agree with Larry that I think our senior housing is really, really important. We have an aging population, and I'd like to see Scarborough residents and seniors on fixed incomes have an opportunity to maybe leave their a long-term residence and find an affordable option in town where they can have access to the commercial, corridors and transportation and public safety. Okay. And finally, I think I'd like to see some kind of property tax break for first-time buyers that have been long-term residents. Maybe a graduated, a cut in property tax that they gradually over time take on the full cost as a way to somehow, some way to incentivize and make it more affordable for long-term, some on-ramps for first-time buyers and young families that are from Scarborough, have lived in Scarborough for a long time, but haven't been able to afford to buy yet.
Thank you, Cressy. We are about halfway through, a little over halfway through. In fact, we're about 15 minutes left before we have closing statements. The 3 people here tonight, the 3 candidates, Larry Kane, Scott Gonzar, and Cressy Moore, all running to fill the position vacated with the resignation of Don Cushing from the Scarborough Town Council. They'll fill out his term running through November of 26, should they be successful on June 10th, when we vote in person here at Town Hall. I wanted to make mention that you can actually come and vote early. And our new town clerk, Kristen Barth, I almost was gonna say Toady, because Toady Justice has put this together with us for so many years, but in fact, she has turned over those duties now to Kristen Barth and Nicole DeBias and Katie Duross in the town clerk's office. And they have the customer service that Toady had, and you can come in and vote early. And but I would suggest, if you have to do that, just contact the town clerk's office, because early voting and absentee voting is still available to you at this early date. We try to do this as early as we can. And we're coming to you tonight on Tuesday, May 13th from Scarborough Town Hall. Scott, so since you've moved to town, you might have noticed that we have traffic issues from time to time, or you might have heard someone say something about the traffic here in town. Your thoughts about the traffic impacts and transportation issues that you will be asked about once you're on the town council?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been quite an eye opener moving from Wyoming to here. You could literally lay down in the middle of the road, close your eyes, and never be worried about getting hit by maybe an antelope. And so, yes, coming here and getting reacquainted with 3 lanes in each direction, and especially getting closer down to Boston, that was a hoot. And so I'm glad I don't have to make that trip too often. So I really don't have, there's been, I've talked to some local residents and I've gotten an idea of this recently in the past few years. There's been some modifications with the timing of the lights, especially on Route 1.
Yeah.
That has been a huge thing, continuing to work on that and making sure that that progresses in that way. That seems to be really beneficial. There's been the implementation of a few new arteries, if you will, going in our connectors. And so that has been a huge step forward in eliminating some of the problems with the traffic. But there's only so much land, there's more people, and ways of maybe implementing some kind of a local increasing our busing system, something like that. We'll figure out a different way, ride share lots, things like that, where we can start reducing the amount of cars on that in the way. But again, land is minimal and things like that. So I think at this point, I can't conclusively say that I have a good answer for that. I think it's going to take a little bit more thought and really reach out to the people and see what they want to see, as opposed to somebody that's just been here since last year. So.
Thank you, Scott Gonzar. Cressy?
Yeah, so one thing I'd like to point out is that most funding for roads is not done at the town level. It is done at the state, and then the state also catches federal funds. So I think, the traffic is going to require partnering with the state and leveraging those state funds to fix some of these problems. In the short term, I think that we should try to focus on what I would call problematic zones or problem intersections. I mean, I can tell you Payne and 114 and Payne and Mussey, where there are bottlenecks, and see if there's any way we can sort of fast track some solutions. But widening Payne Road, all of that will take time. And I think there is a project in the pipeline to do that already. One thing I'd like to see in that effort to resolve traffic and also leverage state funds is seeing a new span, a rebuilding of Route 1. I know the state is over the marsh, and the state has prioritized that and has made that a very top priority. We could leverage millions of dollars and potentially federal funding to help elevate that Route 1 over the marsh, allowing the marsh to migrate and to move, which is, right now sort of Route 1 is a dam. So that's sort of the things that I would, again, there is also a transportation plan to improve walkability, bikeability, all of those things, and maybe, trying to push that forward in implementation. And obviously continue to try to find any traffic calming and traffic flow measures that we could take that are, managing how traffic flows.
Thank you, Cressy Moore. Larry Kane, your thoughts on traffic in Scarborough and your work that you will do on the council to help alleviate?
I think that, as Cressy said, Route 1 particularly is a state road, and the town doesn't have too much control over changing that. Having said that, the traffic conditions to me are really just an indicator of the growth challenges. And there's a ordinance in town called the rate of growth ordinance. And that does some things correctly that could maybe contribute to traffic relief, which is that it does consolidate the corridors of growth in particular areas. And in addition, there's a provision in that to review that plan, that ordinance every 2 years. And 2025 is a review year. And I would really be interested in kind of getting into that for the traffic issues, but even more so for the number of permits that can be issued, building permits that can be issued, and those type of permits. That ordinance does a lot of things right. There's a pretty low percentage allowed of building permits for dwellings over 3 bedrooms, which is to, that would limit large homes, which also benefits the schools as far as trying to control the population in the schools. The way you can reduce the permits is there's a look back period of 10 years where you look at the average number of permits issued over the last 10 years, and then you can reduce the permits to 105% of that average. So I don't have those numbers, but it'd be worth looking at that. And it might just be a slight decrease that we can do in permits. But I think that would make a big difference for traffic planning and as well as the other growth issues that are facing the town. Zoning could also help change some of that, but that's more complicated and part of that long-term plan that Cressy was referring to. The other thing that would help with the growth is if the Scarborough recently passed wetland setbacks. And the first project that came up, they talked about issuing a variance to those setbacks. And I think that's a way, if you can resist that, those variances, that would also help with the larger developments.
Thank you, Larry Kane. Cressy, I'm going to go to a subject close to your heart, and that would be conservation, sustainability, and resiliency. We had some climate change. We had some climate occurrences last year. We lucked out this winter. We fared. How will you promote some of the programs, ongoing programs in Scarborough, like the Scarborough Land Trust and the way that we have set aside properties in town? How will you promote that, and how will that fit with your goals as a town councilor?
Well, as you know, I'm very supportive of conservation. I think I'm particularly interested in conserving around the Nonsuch, around the marsh. That's areas that need the most buffers. That's where, when we have these deluges of rain now, without the buffers, all of the, unfortunately, septic systems flow right into the marsh and shut down, the clam beds, shut down all this, local fishery activities. So I'm very interested, for example, that the land bond is able to fund some of the priorities identified in the open space plan, which is in fact, conserving around importance, creating that connectivity between what is conserved now and all those river corridors and marshes. So to create more connectivity, I would promote that. I know that we also have a vulnerability. I'm part of the vulnerability assessment working group, looking at how sea level rise is going to impact Higgins Beach, Pine Point. It's pretty stark. I mean, Pine Point is going to have, in about 50 to 75 years, really literally shrink and become an island. And that's a real challenge for that community, and how it either adapts or retreats as sea level really takes away that community. And if we don't protect the marsh will disappear. It'll just be open water. So we face some really stark choices, whether you want to call it climate change or not. we're going to have to make some difficult choices. So one of the things I'm very interested in is that span that would raise Route 1 over the marsh, because I think that allows the marsh to move as sea level rises. It gives flexibility and allows it to move. So that would be another priority of mine, and would, I think, also contribute to, improvements that will improve traffic flow across the marsh. So that's another priority that I would have. We have some impaired rivers. Phillips Brook is now an impaired river, so I know that there was a lot of pushback on that buffer zone, but I would push to maintain a significant buffer zone around developments that are near wetlands and streams because of just how seriously development impacts water quality and ultimately the marsh. So, yep, that's some of my priorities.
Thank you, Cressy. Larry Kane, your thoughts on the environmental side of things and resiliency?
Sure. First of all, we're very fortunate to live in a town that's very conservation minded. You find very little resistance. The wetland setback that I was talking about earlier got more resistance from commercial development than residential. So it is kind of an easy sell to keep working on this problem. There was a 30 by 30 initiative through the town that was a goal to conserve 30% of the open land by 2030. They're well ahead of schedule. As a matter of fact, right outside this door, there's a little barometer of how much they've conserved already. I also personally voted for that, replenishing that bond fund. That groups like the Scarborough Land Trust are fabulous partners with the town to keep achieving those goals. And I think everywhere we should be promoting the win-win benefit of conservation besides all the natural benefits. It also sets aside land and protects it from development, which comes back to a growth story a little bit, where some of those, particularly the wooded areas and things, would no longer be subject to development. And so all of those are great initiatives. And again, I just think it's wonderful that we live in a place that takes it so seriously.
Thank you, Larry Kane. Scott Gonzar.
Yeah, excuse me. Again, no matter where I've lived, there's always been a very natural resource that's been, protected, whether it's from local taxes or private entities. I think the best approach comes from finding private entities to nonprofits and things like that that work alongside local, state, and federal governments to allow to protect things such as the marsh and things like that. The Great Lakes for one, right? I mean, that's where I grew up, right? Living out west in Wyoming, basically living in a National Geographic channel. There's so much to protect out there. It's phenomenal. And when you take one little thing out of the ecosystem, then you have problems, right? I'm not an ecologist, right? However, I am a microbiologist and I understand how a biome works, right? And so, for example, you brought up, when we have these increased long periods of rain and things like that, septic systems and things like that, all these different types of chemicals, nutrients, things like that shouldn't be in the marsh are getting to the marsh. You're having overgrowth of different types of anything from bacteria to different things where the biome can't exist in its natural state, right? And then also you talked about growth and things like that. Well, okay, if we preserve land, whether it's through taxes or through its private entity, well, now we've got a growth issue, so we can't do that. But I love the idea of the Route 1. I mean, I drive over the marsh every day. I live off of Pine Point, right? And having something that allows for more of a ease back and forth. And as the rising tides come up, when we have the increasing in sea level and things like that, these are they're very huge things, whether you believe that it's human caused climate change or if it's not, if it's the sun, whatever the case might be. The thing is that, it's a problem, right? And we've got to address the problem. And so figuring out ways, and I think that We've got a great, local government. We've got a great state and the federal government to help us keep everything more or less the best we can keep it without having these bigger problems, because it's going to, you want to talk about raising taxes? Well, if we have to do extreme measures to save some of the ecology of the marsh, well, now we're going to raise taxes. So if we do it at the beginning and help keep things from getting out of control and managing things right off the bat and spending more time on conservation, then it's going to save us money in the long run. So.
Thank you, Scott. We probably could go another hour. Just, we haven't even touched on, like, how will we fund that bridge over the marsh? I know that the town has put in for a grant but that we're in very uncertain times in terms of the federal support or even the state support. But a number of other issues that we never touched. I want you to gather yourselves though, because you're going to have a chance to do your closing statements of why you should be the person we should vote for to fill that seat vacated by Don Cushing. Before you do so though, I want to thank again the help I've had on the other side of the room from Leroy Crockett and Chip Schrader. Leroy from the Scarborough Community Chamber of Commerce and Chip Schrader from the Scarborough Public Library. I want to thank our modest but solid group that we have here in the Town Council chambers tonight. And once again, want to thank the people with Scarborough Community Television for the A1 service that they provide us in putting on this event each year. So with that, we're going to do our closing statements, and I will start with Larry. Larry Kane, running for Town Council.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate all your work. I thank Scott and Cressy for listening to their opinions and ideas. It was wonderful to participate. The theme of my campaign is continued excellence for Scarborough. There's plenty of work to be done. The school project needs to get passed. The issue of growth will require constant attention. Controlling taxes will demand compromise and hard work. And a dedication to conservation is an opportunity to preserve Scarborough for years to come. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but I am kind and hard work and a consideration for the diverse viewpoints of the entire community. I said in my opening statement that Scarborough is a remarkable place to live. I truly believe that. I think we can continue the excellence of this town and find meaningful improvements along the way. It's been a real honor to serve on the school committee, and I look forward to taking that experience and moving forward to town council. I hope that I've given voters some insight into what my key issues are and priorities, and that I earned their vote to join the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Scott Ganzar?
Thank you. Either way, I think you got three amazing candidates up here, and no matter who wins, I think the town is very fortunate to have one of us three up here. I've heard some amazing answers tonight, and it's been awesome. So why I'm running for town council is because I believe that Scarborough deserves thoughtful, balanced leadership that represents families, local businesses, and longtime residents alike. As a financial planner and a father, I bring a steady, common sense perspective to local issues. I'm committed to helping shape the future of Scarborough that protects what we love while planning wisely in what's ahead. If elected, my priorities will include smart, measured growth, improved transparency in town decision-making, and continued investment in public safety, education, and infrastructure. Scarborough is a special place for me. We need to protect its character while ensuring it remains accessible and livable for families, seniors, and small business owners. I want to make sure that residents feel heard and are involved, especially when it comes to development and budgeting decisions. As a financial planner, I understand the importance of accountability and long-term thinking. I will work hard to ensure Scarborough's future is both fiscally responsible and community-focused. So I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight and to give you my thoughts, my answers, and to be part of this amazing panel. I really do appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott Gonzar and Crescencia Mora.
Thank you, Kevin. So, first I want to say that we discussed a lot of great issues tonight, and it's been great to hear from both of you. I've learned a lot, and I've really enjoyed this sort of conversation and debate. And I think that we're stronger together when we come together for a common cause. And I'm committed to doing whatever, supporting whichever one of us wins, no matter what. So I really do think that if we come together, we continue to push and serve Scarborough, whoever's elected. But I'd like to sum up by just sort of reiterating some of the things I'd like to get done if I am elected. First, I want to support and push through a community-backed solution to fix Scarborough's school aging and undersized schools. I think that is an absolute top priority. I'm a conservationist, but I see that the future of this planet rests in our children. So I really do think that we need to have, promote excellence in education and an environment where children can learn. And that's coming before the town council is an absolute high priority. So that's one thing that I'll work on. I'd like to also think creatively about options Scarborough can pursue to build a community center and expand our public library, but one that minimizes the burden on taxpayers. Again, we had talked about a partnership with the YMCA at one point, maybe go back and think about a partnership again with the YMCA to achieve a community center. Maybe we need a public capital campaign specifically for the library so we can get enough funds to expand our library. Maybe if the school bond fund passes, we can repurpose one of the local public schools for either a community center or a bigger library. So I want to think outside the box on how do we deliver those additional services that the community wants. Of course, I want to help implement the open space plan that I helped develop and help achieve that 20 by 30 goal and do it in a way that is a smart use of taxpayer funds. And finally, again, that span over the marsh, push whatever I can, help the town in whatever capacity I can to secure state and federal funds to enable to have that happen. So that's it.
Well, thank you, candidates. I think we're in good hands, whoever gets voted on to the town council. And I want to thank you for stepping forward and putting your name into the mix to run for the town council. It's great to see you. It's great to meet all of you, and I wish you the best of luck. And we'll see you in the fall for candidates night in November. I'm Kevin Freeman. Good night.